Go.
All right. Hi there, everybody. My name is Corey Jones. I'm with Compassion Works for All here in Little Rock, and we lead mindfulness and meditation programs for folks who live in jails and prisons. And if you're ever interested in learning more about us, we encourage you to visit us at compassionworksforall.org. You can Google us. You can find us on Facebook. And especially if you're ever interested in volunteering, if leading mindfulness and meditation is something that you're interested in, especially with writing, and that's something that I'll just make a little plug for here. We have a nationwide newsletter that is typically distributed out on a quarterly basis that goes out to folks living in jails and prisons, but we've decided to increase that to a monthly basis. And so we're always looking for contributors. If you're a writer, if you're a poet, if you're an artist, excuse me, then we would love to have you share some of your stuff with us. So you can feel free to reach out. You can email me, Corey, C-O-R-Y, at compassionarkansas.org, or like I said, you can just find us on Google us or find us on Facebook. So that's the plug that I'll make for our organization today. The thing that I want to talk about today, though, is our thoughts. Because mindfulness is very much about not blocking out thoughts, not controlling our thoughts, but just simply being aware of our thoughts. And so a common misconception can be that whenever I'm in a time of meditation, I have to block everything out. And if something comes into my mind, I'm supposed to shove it out and do everything that I can to get rid of it. But what we typically find happen is the more we resist it, the stronger and bigger it gets. Because you're simply not going to stop your brain from working. You're just not. That's what your brain does. And in fact, we don't want it to stop working. We very much need it to continue doing what it does. And that includes keeping thoughts just going on a scrolling basis. So the goal is not to stop that train. The goal is just to watch it as it goes by. Yesterday, that's weird that was yesterday. Yesterday, it was a beautiful day here in Little Rock. And so my wife and I got out. We went out early Sunday morning and down to one of the river trails. And she enjoys walking. Sometimes she busts out the rollerblades and goes rollerblading down the river trail. And I go sit by the water and have my meditation time. And yesterday, whenever we got down there, it was still fairly cool, even though it was sunny. So there weren't a lot of people out. And the water was perfectly still. It was like super, super calm, kind of that glassy look where it looks totally undisturbed. And I was sitting on one side of the bank, and across the way, there were the trees, and you could just see this perfect reflection in the water. I mean, it was just crystal clear how the reflection was. And from time to time, a little like goose, a duck, a heron, some other waterfowl. I don't know my birds very well, but one of them would come gliding in and land in the water and swim around for a minute, and then it would fly off. And so there would be this small little ripple, but eventually it would dissolve and the water went back to glass. And that happened from time to time. And I was watching as the birds would come in and land and take off again. But far in the distance, at one point, I heard this loud roaring sound. And it was the sound of a motorboat, a speedboat, as it was coming my direction on the water. And so I just kept my gaze focused on the same place, but I could hear it getting louder and louder and louder. And all of a sudden I could see it in my periphery. And then pretty soon the speedboat was right in front of me and it went whirring by. And the wake, of course, started right behind the boat, but eventually started spreading out toward the banks. And when the speedboat went by, man, the water just, as I'm sure you've seen before, the wake is just causing the water to go all sorts of crazy. And it scared all the birds away. So the birds didn't really have a good place to sit in the water for a little while after the boat went by. And of course, the reflection in the water was completely gone. It was all disturbed and chaotic. And it just was such a good illustration to me of what our thoughts are like and the power that they have over us. Because most of the time we're not aware of them. Most of the time our thoughts are like those ducks, those geese, those herons, those little birds that come and land for a second and then they're off and they barely register. It barely makes a blip in our mental or emotional state. But from time to time, that speedboat of a thought can come by. Those thoughts that can really just shut us down or bring all kinds of emotions to the surface, all kinds of chaos. And then that chaos stays for a very long time. The vast majority of time, those thoughts are negative. The thoughts that take over us, the thoughts that consume us, they are by and large going to be negative thoughts because that tends to be where our minds naturally go. And so it's really important, again, not to block those out, because I couldn't jump in the water and stop the speedboat from coming. It was going to come by no matter what. And those thoughts are going to come in no matter what. The goal, though, is not to stop it, not to force it out, but to observe it, to be like a person sitting on the bank of a river watching a speedboat go by. And you can see the water getting disturbed. You can see the chaos that's happening. You can see that all the other thoughts, even if they're happy thoughts, are being scared away. They're being blocked out because this massive thing has now taken control over your thoughts. And over time, though, as I sat there, I sat there in the grass for maybe 30 or 40 minutes watching the water. And after, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, you started to see the waves get smaller and smaller. And then after about 20, 25 minutes, it started to really smooth out. And then by about the 30-minute mark, all of a sudden, the outline of the trees and the reflection of the water started to show up again. And by the time I left, the water was still. It was like glass, just like it had been whenever I sat down. But it took that long for the water to return. And again, I think that's a really good lesson for us. It can take that long sometimes for one thought and the chaos that it creates to finally clear out of our system and to finally allow us to return to some state of emotional regulation. So all of this to say, I would like for us to just practice today noticing our thoughts and practice not blocking out what's going on, especially if it's something that feels especially negative, if it's a stressful thing, if it's a relational thing, if it's something that creates sadness or creates some sort of depression. Let's not avoid it, and let's not shove it out, but let's observe it the way that you would watch a boat go by on the water. So I'm going to invite you into our meditation time here. We're going to go a little bit longer today than we typically do. And so there will be some times of silence, and then I'll also offer some guidance every once in a while. But we're going to especially put our awareness on our thoughts today and what those are doing. But we'll begin, as we always do, with a mindful posture. So if you'll take your seat, I usually sit in a chair with my feet flat on the floor, but however you're sitting, make sure you're attentive, but also relaxed. And let's begin. Just stay here in this mindful posture for a bit. Don't try to do anything fancy. Don't try to get to some Zen-like place. Just feel yourself being present. Start to notice what's happening around you. Notice the sounds. Notice the temperature of the room you're in. Notice the feelings that those things generate inside of you, whether it's positive or negative. Try not to give too much attention to that, but just notice and observe. Relax your shoulders. Relax your jaw. And let your body start to feel heavy in your seat. Not so much that you begin to nod off and fall asleep, but so that you are firmly and fully grounded. Start to get a sense of the present context that you're in. Your mind, no doubt, is going to start wandering soon if it hasn't already. So take this early moment to just be fully aware of the room that you're in, fully aware of the fact that that is where your body and your mind are, both in space and in time. You're not in the past. You're not somewhere in the future. You're here. You may even notice the sounds coming from my end. Let your present awareness occupy your mental space. And if you are having trouble being present, let's bring our awareness and our attention now to our breath, and let our breath be an anchor for us here. Let our breath tether us here into the present moment. Because our minds might go into the past, they might drift into the future, but our breath is one of the most present things that we have. And so begin to notice the air as it passes into your nose, and notice the air as it passes out. And together, let's take a few deep inhales all the way down into the body, and a long exhale out of the mouth. Let's do that 2 more times. Deep inhale down into the belly, and exhale through the mouth. And 1 more time. Deep inhale, and the long exhale. And let your breath return to normal now. In and out through the nose. Don't worry about if you're doing it right or wrong. Don't worry about if you're going to be able to stay with the meditation the entire time. Don't worry about if you have something coming up that's urgent or that it feels like you need to get to, because those things don't exist yet. All that exists is you in this moment with your breath, with your surroundings exactly how they are. And so continue to breathe. Continue to feel your body in your seat. And to help stay in the present moment, you can also use your body as a source or as an object of your awareness. If you have sensation, for instance, I feel my heartbeat in my chest fairly strong early on in a time of meditation. When I'm finally still, I notice it. Maybe you feel your heart, maybe you feel your pulse, or maybe there's some kind of other sensation. It's okay to bring your awareness there and to put it on it. If you're experiencing pain or discomfort, you can breathe into that place and continue to just feel it let go, continue to feel it relax. We can use our thoughts and use the energy of our mind, our awareness, our consciousness, whatever word you want to give it. You can take control of it by directing your awareness. So, whatever's working for you right now, directing your awareness to your breath, feeling yourself breathe in and breathe out, or directing your awareness to your body, noticing sensations. Whichever one is working for you right now, place your awareness there. And the longer we maintain our awareness on one thing, whether it's our breath, whether it's our body, whether it's a mantra, whether it's a picture or an image, the longer we maintain our awareness on one thing, the more we exercise that muscle. We exercise our brain. And over time, our default mode becomes one of absolute presence rather than mindless drifting. Continue to breathe and keep your awareness on your breath, or keep your awareness on some place in your body. And if those aren't working for you, if those don't hold your awareness well, you could also try using your senses. Put your awareness on what you can hear. Or put your awareness on what you can taste. Or put your awareness on what you can smell. Bring your awareness to what you can feel, what sensations are on your skin. Or maybe if your hands are folded in your lap, notice what they're making contact with. If your eyes are open, notice what you can see without glancing around, just keeping your gaze fixed somewhere. Just notice what's there, notice what's in your periphery. And practice keeping your awareness centered in one place for an extended amount of time. And so again, your awareness can be centered on your breath. You can center it on some part of your body. You can center it on one of your senses. And as you do, the goal is not to block out everything else, but it's just to simply draw your awareness to one primary place. And when you feel your mind begin to wander, because it's going to, return it back to that object of focus. For the next few moments, bring your awareness to one of your senses, whether it's what you can hear or taste or smell or see or feel. And as you continue to breathe, let that sensation become the object of your awareness, that which you are focused on. And let's hold that directly in our awareness, directly in our thought for the next few moments. If you notice your mind has wandered, that's okay. Again, we're not going to stop the thoughts. We're not going to stop the birds from landing on the water. We're especially not going to stop the speedboats from coming by. We just want to observe and then return to the object of our focus. Once again, if your mind has begun to wander, that's okay. Gently return it back to your object of focus, whether it's part of your body, whether it's your breath or one of your senses. It's also very important in our meditation time to be gentle with ourselves. If your mind is really distracted, that's okay. If you feel like you're not doing it correctly, it's okay to name that thought, to name that emotion, but then let go of it and recognize that it's the observance, the observation of what's happening. That's what meditation is: observing and then returning back into the present, returning back to a place of calm, returning back to a place of focus. So return now to your object of awareness, to your body, to your breath, or to one of your senses. And when thoughts come into your mind, observe them and return. we come into the last bit of time here together. Begin to observe the emotions that sometimes accompany our thoughts. You have thoughts about being productive. You might feel a sense of urgency, a need to move on. I invite you to observe that thought and stay in your seat. Remain with your object of focus and trust that when the time comes, everything that you need to do is going to be there waiting for you. But for now, you can be present and still. If your thoughts generate feelings that you might associate as negative, they generate sadness, they generate anger, they generate negative thoughts about yourself or about others. Notice and observe that. And in your observation, in observing your emotions, see the space between the thought and the emotion it generates. And fill up that separation with your awareness, that space between, because that's where we detach. We detach the emotion from the thought, and we just observe the thought as it exists. And so if you feel certain emotions, especially negative emotions welling up inside you because of the thoughts that are jumping around in your head, don't try to do anything about it. Don't try to force them away. Don't try to wish them away. Just observe. And trust that just like the water, eventually your thoughts and your emotions will become calm again. As you keep your awareness focused on the object of awareness, on your body, on your breath, on your senses, or perhaps on a mantra, on an image. Trust that the more you direct your awareness toward a singular object, things will calm. Your awareness will return back to the present rather than becoming untethered into the past or into the future. And so in our final moments here, continue to observe the senses, the sensory input from the room you're in, from your setting. Don't try to escape it, but be fully present inside of it. Become aware of your own body, observe the sensations, observe the feelings, observe the places of stress or discomfort, and let your breath be a constant anchor, constant place for you to return your awareness as you inhale and exhale. And for our final few moments, if you can, bring your awareness to all of those things at once, to your present surroundings. Observe yourself and where you fit within it. And also observe what you feel in your body. And also observe your breath. And also observe your thoughts. All of these things working in sync with each other. All of these things integrated into one experience of the present moment in its fullness. And feel the connection physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And if your mind has wandered, gently bring it back one more time to your object of awareness, whether that's your body, your breath, or your senses. And as you return your focus to this object of awareness, bring with it a sense of joy and a sense of love for yourself, a deep sense of compassion and kindness, satisfaction that as you are right now, you are enough, you are loved, you are full of goodness and full of light. So let that enoughness, let that goodness, let that light rise up to the surface of your awareness, the surface of your consciousness. As those speedboat thoughts come into your mind, moving forward through the rest of the day, observe them, but don't be toppled by them. Let the goodness, let the light be what guides you, be what sets out your path. Trust that anything negative, any negative thought, any negative emotion, any negative experience, it will stir the water for a bit, but the water eventually goes calm again. Trust that the water will be calm again. It might take a minute, but we can direct our awareness to the present, to our body, to our breath, to our senses. And we can't stop thoughts from coming into our mind, but we can choose our response to them. And we can choose not to be toppled. And we can choose to trust that calm will come. So as we finish, take in one deep inhale and breathe out through the mouth. I hope that was helpful for everyone. I hope that imagery might be useful for you. The imagery of the water becoming still and becoming calm. It's already paid off for me a couple of times, especially in my role as a parent. That tends to be where mindfulness and meditation come in the most for me, where they pay off the most dividends, I guess I should say. And it's we can allow, if you're a parent, we can allow our children, or if your kids are grown, or if you're not a parent, we can allow the people around us. We can give them grace and recognize that the water will calm for them too at some point. So I hope that imagery is good and useful for you. I hope our time today has been helpful, and I look forward to being with you again. Thank you.